What's up, everybody? Um, today's episode is significant. It's extremely special and it means a lot to me. Many of you know that around the age of 12, 13, 14, my dad began with the early stages of dementia. Upon graduating from high school, my dad barely knew who I was half the time. Between my freshman and sophomore year of college, on July 4th, 2004 to be exact, he lost the battle. If you really don't know anything about Alzheimer's, you don't really understand how it affects the brain and how the brain then begins to start the systems and organs to shutting down. And it's almost like they're not really shutting down, but the brain, they can't function because they need, maximal brain capacity and brain functioning, right? Well, in 2020, I have an aging mother. And no matter what you see, all the travel, all the glitz and glam, and all the fun, she is my responsibility. And because she is my responsibility, I am a millennial caregiver. Today, the young lady who is here is also a millennial caregiver. And guess what? She's a public figure as well. So, in the midst of all of her travel, glitz, and glam, she has an ultimate responsibility. And that responsibility is to be a caregiver. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 o'clock hour is now nigh. And I must present Miss Jacquelyn Joyce.
Hi.
Hello, beautiful.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Okay, so Jacquelyn, first and foremost, let's just get all of the formalities out of the way because this is not an interview. This is an intentional conversation.
Sure.
So tell everybody who you are, what you have going on, and then let's talk about the topic at hand.
Sure. So there's actually a few things going on. I don't know if you have the updates, but okay. So I am Jacquelyn, by the way. I stutter, and so you guys will see that. So I just want to say it. So I basically started taking care of my mother and grandmother, who were both diagnosed with Alzheimer's because we had a carbon monoxide leak within our home, and it pretty much like leaked carbon monoxide without anyone in the house knowing. At that time, I was in New York City, just like living it up and working and so on. Just like I am in NYC, I'm hey. And it was awesome. I actually got a call while I was on the subway, and it was my mom's friend, and she was like, hey, you need to fly home. Something is not okay. So I ended up flying home, and I got home to my grandmother and my mom, who lived in my childhood home. My grandma was at the point where, were I to call her, she would know who I was because that's how we had, been communicating. But she did not visually recognize me at all. So I ended up moving home to a grandmother who did not know me at all. And then my mom was so far at that point that by the time I ended up moving home, the mortgage hadn't been paid for 3 months, and they were sending for foreclosure notices. notices. And so it was just really crazy. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And so it took about a year to get the diagnosis for her. And I've pretty much been taking care of them. My grandmother passed away at the end of 2017. And since then, it's been my mom and I. And, it's taught me a lot. It's changed me a whole lot. It's taken a lot. And I just kind of really want, like, what's sad to me about it is that so many people have gone through this for so long, and there's not a massive amount of information, like day by day, or like people really kind of sharing their experiences. And so I just wanted to kind of step out there, because if anyone wants to go, if anyone has to go through it, they need maybe not a manual, but just something that they can relate to, because it can feel like the most lonely experience ever.
Jacquelyn, wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have embarked upon so many things, though. You're still able to do your screenwriting. You're still able to, make sure everything is good at home. And you're still able to advocate for other populations that people don't even think about.
So what ended up happening was, when I left New York, at the time, I was like working at a studio. The year prior, I had written for and like this show at MTV with that they had Cardi B as the star of. That show did not happen, but like at that point, I was really feeling like, okay, I am at this place in my career where I can just sort of keep on climbing. And when I got that call, it was like, you need to move home. The hardest part was like, once I ended up moving home, people from New York calling me saying, hey, we have work, we would like to hire you. And I'm like, I'm in LA, I can't. And so like slowly those phone calls stopped coming. And slowly I began to identify as someone who didn't want to be a caregiver, but who was a caregiver. That then slowly changed. Like right now, I identify as someone who has chosen to be the best caregiver I can, because I want to create the memories I can with my mom. But like it took me time to move from being a single, fun, happy person to, just completely shutting off everything and changing my intention.
Wow. So Jacquelyn, all right, let's walk through it though. Let's walk through when you left New York and went back to LA. Your mom needed you, your grandma needed you. How did you transition though? Because your grandmother was in one house, right? And your mom was in another house.
No. So my mom and my grandma purchased one house when I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when I was 18, I was like, I'm going across the country, bye. And so they ended up staying there, and I
got it.
Yeah. And so when I moved home, I ended up moving in that same house.
Okay. All right. So you come back home, for real, back home, and you got grandma that needs you and you have mom that needs you. What did that look like for you though? I mean, and I'm thinking, I'm going to tell you, because I'm thinking about how it was for me as a kid. So I'm trying to understand, you had to uproot your entire life and leave New York City where everything was happening for your career, and you had to transition. So what did that look like?
Starting out, I was hopeful. Starting out, I was like, okay, no, I can figure it out. I think I don't want to shine a light poorly on this, but like, I really thought that I would get more support from the church that my mom was a member of from the time I was 1. She also worked there. And so my mom was at that church 7 days a week. I was at that church 7 days a week. And I thought that the pastor would, could at least make an announcement or like try something, help me with something, reach out something. And none of that was happening the way I thought it would. The support communities that I thought were in place that we had weren't there. A lot of the friends that I've reached out to weren't there, but some were. One of my mom's friends, she would pick my mom up at 9:00 on Sunday and take her to church. And that would let me like work out so that I could just have some time to like mentally, have something. And then she would bring her home at like 1, and so there were things like that. But like when I realized that people weren't willing to, I guess, help, and I know people have their own issues, but I guess the community that I thought we had isn't what it ended up being. And I think that actually kind of affected me. I took it very personally. I felt like, well, maybe I'm not worth saving. Maybe I'm not. And so that was where my like depression started. Because, when people have dementia, they're not nice always. Sometimes they're mean. And then you're living in this house with people who are just mean to you all day. And you tell people who don't live in it, they're saying they don't mean it. But, mean words penetrate your psyche still. Like, you can't not hear negative comments about yourself just because it's coming from someone who's sick. Like, your mind can't tell that. I'm sorry, I'm just crying everywhere right now.
Look, it's okay. I already knew. And guys, if you're just checking in, I am chopping it up with my millennial caregiving sister, Jacquelyn Joyce, and she is all the way in Los Angeles. And never in my life have I met, and listen to what I'm saying, because people take one thing and run with it. So listen clearly. Never in my life have I met someone that's in my generation that is a millennial, that's a caregiver to a parent. Listen to me, in my generation. Please understand that there's a difference in being a baby boomer caregiver than being a millennial caregiver. Absolutely. Because our lives are so different. And a lot of us were not taught the things that most of baby boomers and even some Gen Xers were taught. And so, Jacquelyn, when you're speaking to the fact that you expected the church community to reach out, trust me, I understand. One of the things, and I'm pretty sure you hear this, well, just call me, I'll be there. I shouldn't have to call you because you know what's going on. You can see what's going on. So I don't need to call you for you to pick up the phone and call my parent and be like, hey, do you need anything from the store? But the people outside of the church, the people that you might call heathens, they don't mind picking up the phone or even dropping by and checking in. But that's all right, Jacquelyn. You got the floor, because I understand. But yeah, continue on.
So it's interesting because like some of the most supportive people were people who I wasn't expecting to be the supportive ones. People surprise you. People surprise you in good ways, and they surprise you in bad ways also. And and I don't know, it's interesting because right now I'm not taking care of my mom by myself, which is like the one thing that's, I think, saving me right now is I've now been able to, okay, so when my mom and grandma purchased this house, they purchased a huge house for no reason because it was only us in there. So it's a 4-bedroom house with an extra outside suite. So what I started doing was like renting rooms out, firstly, so I could pay the mortgage because there was still a mortgage on it. But like that slowly changed to me finding people who like can supplement their like some of their rent for help. So now I've sort of created this home of people, and we're all there for the exact same purpose, which is to like make sure we all stay sane and that my mom is taken care of, and that like when that person needs to take a break, they can. When that person is like, yo, I need to be out, like they can. And so like it's kind of it's a house dedicated to taking care of my mom, but also keeping all of us like mentally healthy.
And that's what it's all about. Jacquelyn, is I definitely know what it feels like to look around and you got this whole slew of people around you. But when it really comes to time to work, you got like 4 or 5 people. You got a handful of people. And you know, when we were kids, our parents tell us that, but we don't believe it. Our parents tell us that. I know mine told me, but I ain't believe it because I want this entourage. But now at 35 years of age, I literally have 5 people I can depend on. And the reality is, you know, I hate to say it, the 5 people that I depend on the most, we don't share the same bloodline.
Same. And that's just kind of what it is. Like,
and it's not, and guys, I need you to understand something. What we're talking about here is we're not bashing anybody. We're not, you know, trying to offend. We're speaking facts because what you have to understand is when you step into a situation where you have to take care of someone, and you have to understand something. Jacquelyn has a unique situation. The majority of caregivers do not live in the home with the person that they have to care for, which is a whole different battle in itself. So the fact that she was able to go back home and then find people that supported the mission of caring for her mother, not their mother, her mother, which speaks volumes about those people.
Absolutely.
Honey, I'm telling you, and the crazy thing is, Jacquelyn, the 5 people that I depend the most on, I know if I said, guess what, y'all, I'm about to buy a 10-bedroom house. My mom and my aunt coming. Can y'all come live? They would be right there. So I understand what you're saying. And it blows my mind because what I've always said is we walk this journey alone. But what happens is there are not enough of us who will publicly say, look, this is what I'm doing. Please, because we want to cap for social media, right? We want to look good for social media. We want everybody to think our life is perfect. But baby.
Man. Like that was actually one of the hardest things, I think, also because I was also like on social media and I was cool and I was like taking pictures with my friends. We were all hanging out, you know, And then all of a sudden I wasn't cool anymore. And it showed me how much stock I put into it also. However, but like it also showed me like how much the people that I was with wasn't with me.
Ooh, wait a minute. Say that one more time. It shows you what about the people?
It shows me how much the people I was with were not with me.
Hello, somebody. No. Girl, you have to, look, that's going to be our thing. That's going to be our thing. That's going to be our thing. You know, just a few weeks ago, another millennial caregiver. And interesting about this young lady, her father lost the battle because he had some other things going on.
Mm.
But in order for her to get, almost like the situation you would have been in order for her to get to her parents, she had to fly. It's coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
She got to fly multiple flights unless she can find a nonstop flight, $600 and $700 because she need to go right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And she said to me, "Thank you for checking on me. People that, I thought would check on me wouldn't." And you know what? I think we live in a world of self-centered people. We live in a world of people who believe woe is me. And we also, it goes back to one of the conversations. And before we talk about, because we can go back and forth, before we talk about Crescendo, because I want you to talk about how you were able to get Crescendo and all of that done with everything else. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room, because we are taught to what? Honor our mother and father, that our days may be long upon the land. Then you're also taught that if you do enter into a union with somebody else, that for men, they're taught that what? They're supposed to forsake all else for that union, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we as females are in a situation where we almost have to remove ourselves from whatever it is because we're taught to take care of from the beginning. We're raised to take care of.
No, yeah, we're all raised with the intention that we will end up taking care of someone, whether it's a child or a family or whoever. Like, that's pretty much like what we're weird thinking. That like may be changing like slightly with newer age parents and like newer age children, but for the majority of like millennials, even to Gen Z, even like we're all socialized with playing gender roles and so on, which I also think that makes people think that your job is to give up whatever you have going on to then care for someone. Like people were often confused when I was like, "But what about me?" And they're like, "What about you? This is who you are now." Like, which again was really the most hurtful part, because I never knew that people saw me as that. I wasn't aware that people saw me as because I'm a woman, like people just saw me as my personal dreams being disposable for the greater good.
All right. So wow. So Jacquelyn, let's dissect that though. Do you ever feel like it's more than just because you're a woman? Do you ever feel like, well, number one,
oh, it's because I'm Black also. Like,
but even more than that, and because of that, you're what? You're strong.
Yeah.
You're fierce.
Yeah.
You're able to withstand so much, and I think it's everybody, and it's worse with our intimate relationships because we can handle so much. It's almost like we become everybody's savior, but who's gonna save us?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think the greatest thing here though is that even though you did have to uproot, you were still able to create. You are still a creative. And what I love is that, I'm sorry, y'all gonna hate this, but we are real public figures. And you got to understand what I'm saying. We're real public figures simply because being a public figure isn't all that we do. I think a lot of people have it easy because, if you have children and you're a public figure and you have, a certain level of clout, you can get a nanny, right? or you might have a husband or a baby daddy or all this stuff. You got people you can pass your offspring off to. But where are the nannies when it's not a child? When there is no spouse? When it isn't a kennel to take the pet to for a day? And I think that's the part where people don't realize that this life that we live is so different. It's totally different. But Jacquelyn, talk to us about Crescendo and tell us what Crescendo is and how you were able to accomplish it.
So Crescendo is a web series that I wrote. Oh my gosh, I wrote it in 2018, actually. I wrote it in 2018. We filmed it in 2019. And then we were planning on releasing it, having like a big party and everything. But of course, COVID came. And so we ended up releasing it like the week that we were ordered to stay at home. Which was interesting. I'm learning to just embrace things, because like I have to embrace the things that my mom goes into, because if I fight it, I won't win. Like you just, yeah. And it's a story about a woman who was fighting to make her dreams come true, even though she encountered a abusive situation that detoured her, and she's pretty much like fighting against all of the people that are in her life who are trying to keep her from exploring this passion. And now that I like rehash the log line of it, I'm like, this very much so sounds like a personal journey that I've been going through, and so on. But what's great about Crescendo also is that as a writer, I knew that I had to have work that people could see, and that would then open more doors for me, which it has, because I actually just sold my first pilot script, which is a show that we're hoping to turn into a TV show. It is a long journey to that place. However, like selling your pilot script is really huge for a writer out here in Hollywood, and like I'm completely overjoyed, because the one consistent thing that I've done since I moved here was I was like, okay, well, since I can't work with people on sets anymore, I have to really become a great writer in order to get my career back to the place I like needed. And so I've just been like writing scripts and trying to get better at it and figure out characters and blah, 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 blah. And I sold my first script. And so that's just really happy for me. And I couldn't have done that without having done Crescendo, which is on my YouTube channel. Check in the play list section. You can watch the entire series in under an hour. It's good.
I am excited. And, I was like, that's going to be something, working from home. We are all working from home now. So I was like, okay, that's going to be my project. So what I'm going to do is I got to make sure I watch Crescendo. I know I can do a little bit of work and then take a break and watch it. So, because when I was reading about it, and it's so funny when you said that, I was like, wow. Definitely. I think all of us that are out here on this creative journey can identify with Crescendo in some form, way, or another. So yes.
Yeah, there's always going to be an obstacle. There's always going to be something that you have to overcome, or that you have to figure out tactics. And so I think a lot of people can relate to it just because of that, especially like right now, like while people while we're all at home, we're all, spending more time trying to figure out what it is that we actually should be doing instead of, slaving ourselves at these jobs that don't really care about us.
Definitely. And that's true. And that's true. And that is so true. I think that's true for everybody. All right, Jacquelyn, we're gonna transition into, we're gonna come back to the caregiver component. But we're gonna dig a little deep. Not deep, but it's more surface personal. What does the social life look like?
Prior to COVID or now?
well, just as a caregiver in general, dating and things of that nature.
It was really sad for a while. Like for a good while, I had to unfollow everyone on social because I would see all of them like going to day parties in the summer and then holiday parties and everyone hanging out and just, having fun. Like we're still young. I started taking care of my mom when I was in my like late '20s. So like I had no kids. I was like, okay, hey. And so to have your, life change so suddenly, it was really, really, really hard. Social media was really hard. Right now it's actually easy because we're all at home. Everyone's at home. But, right. But I would try to go out at nighttime, but leaving them alone, I would always worry. And so there's never like that peace of mind unless you have people here like who are designated to, watch and care for, which I have now. My social life right now is actually kind of cool, more so because my best friend lives here. So I'm always like hanging out and chatting and so on. Since COVID started, like recently in the summertime, I've picked up roller skating. Yeah. And like
I broke my elbow roller skating. You had me until you said roller skating.
When I tell you knee pads, I have knee pads, I have elbow pads, I have wrist guards on. You are not gonna find. I am not 25 out here. I know if I take one fall, it's over. So I go out there, people are like, you good? I'm like, I will be if I fall.
That is super cool. Super cool. And Jacquelyn, one of the things, you really didn't get an opportunity to have a conversation about what this would look like because it kind of came up suddenly. And as I'm sitting here listening to you talk, it's kind of like I'm just like, wow. I'm fortunate to still be able to have conversations with my mom like, yo, is it cool? Is this okay? Is this cool? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? But for you, it's like at this point, you really have to make decisions for your mom because, you can't. You can ask her how she feels about something, but today she might feel this way, and not tomorrow, but in 5 minutes she may feel a different way.
It happens all the time. Yeah. What I try to do is like make decisions based on who I know she was.
Yep.
Like my mom was a very herbalistic sort of human. She would have you take like she did not believe in medications and so on. And so I really try to, when I'm like treating symptoms or if, she may be sick here or different things, even with the dementia medicines and so on, I try to tread very lightly because I don't want to like just drug her completely because I know that that's not the choice that she would make for person.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm very intuitive. I have to trust my intuition a lot.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. So, guys, if you're just checking in, I'm definitely rocking out with Jacquelyn Joyce. And, guys, normally segments are not this long, but we have so much. Oh, no. I meant like, shout out to Bose. Like, baby, she already knew. I already told her, look, her segment is intentional. I don't care. We're not doing it on the same day, really, that we do anybody else's because this is near and dear to my heart. Like, so many people really don't understand that this need to be on CNN. This is a hot
Talking about this is an epidemic.
Yes, but you know what? Let's briefly talk about you as a advocate for those that stutter and our current president-elect.
Yes, which is honestly
And vice president-elect because you from California. So you just got a whole. But you know what? Let me tell you what's so funny. It's so interesting to me. People kept saying, oh, he got Alzheimer's, he got dementia. And I kept telling people, listen, what you don't understand is individuals with speech and language impediments, they never go away. You just learn how to work through them and push through them. So when he's taking his time focusing and trying to get stuff out, it's not that he's stupid and don't understand. That is his process. That's his mechanism for being able to speak eloquently and distinctly.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that for the people out here that just don't understand and don't get it? Because I'm mad and I'm not going to articulate it and be as tactful as you.
No, I appreciate it. No, I mean, people, everyone has an opinion now. Everyone thinks that they know what's going on. But since I'm a person who stutters and I'm also someone who takes care of people who have Alzheimer's, I know I can see what Alzheimer's is. And I can also see what someone may do when they stutter, where they're trying to not stutter or they're trying to, change words so that the stutter won't come out. And that's what happens a lot with Joe. It's I think it's the easiest conclusion to jump to prove someone's halfway point. But
I love how you put that. I love how you put that.
It's like the slide shade. I'm just going to slide the shade underneath there.
Yes, please slide the shade in because, girl, I get so mad. Like, oh my gosh, I get so upset. And I think to me, it's disrespectful for those of us that, like you said, we know what dementia and Alzheimer's is. We know what it looks like. And for you, you know what speech language impediment looks like because you live it. I know what it looks like because I come from academia where my specialty was special education, and that is a component of special education. You know what I'm saying? Speech and language pathology is something that was there for the babies. So it's like, it really pisses me off that we live in a society that does not care about anything like that. It seems like the only thing society cares about, and it's not a shot, but the only thing we really care about is what? You hear the most about cancer.
We hear a lot about cancer.
And substance abuse. You hear about mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, with Alzheimer's and dementia, it's going to happen. Let's just deal with it when it happens. No, you can't just deal with it when it happens. You have to prepare.
You have to prepare.
And I used to think like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could happen because I'm a kid. Everybody else's parent knows who they are. My daddy don't know who the hell I am half the time. But you know what? I'm glad I had to deal with it then because now it allows me to understand what's going on around me with everybody else.
Oh no, yeah. People are going to be in for a crazy awakening in the next 15 years. And sometimes I think about it, I'm like, I'm just happy that I'll be done with it at that time. Like I'll be out of the water and clear. Yeah, we're going to be in for an awakening. And I think it's something that people just don't want. to acknowledge, because
You know.
they know that like when their mom takes care of someone that like he says it's hard, but they don't know what hard
Really
is.
is.
They don't know what hard it is.
Nope. Nope. I
Those-
watched. I'm telling you, to and you know, to be a kid and like I watched my mom have to struggle with my dad and then with her own mom. So it's like, you know, people really don't know. And guys, if you're just checking in, we're winding up, but I am so fortunate to be having a conversation with my millennial caregiving sister, Jacquelyn Joyce, who is over on the other coast. And we are connected on so many different levels. But the major way that we connected is because we are millennial caregivers. And the reality is that we are fortunate to still be able to say that our mothers are around. So many, you know what's interesting? So many people don't have their mothers, and it's not because of anything natural.
Yeah.
So I think it's a blessing for us to even be able to sit here and have a conversation in the present and really talk about things in the present and in real time. So, wow. So, Jacquelyn, what messages, because I know there's not just one, what messages do you have for the world? And it can be about, you know, it can be about stuttering. It can be about being a caregiver. It can be about being a creative. I don't care what it is, but I know you have a couple of messages for the world.
And let me pull out my scroll.
Yes.
Have a list of them. So like my number one, which because I was an only child, I wasn't really aware of it. The importance of a community is pretty much my number one. I don't think that I would be able to come to you with as much. I wouldn't be able to come to you with as much candor as I can if I didn't have a community helping me take care of my mom right now. I would also say, you know, for the stuttering out there, just be a little bit patient for us.
You had this. No, I needed you to have the platform because this is all about you. So you go for it, and I'm gonna come back when you finish.
I'll be done in like 2 seconds, I promise. Patience, just like take your time, take a breath or two. Actually, you know what? Use the moments that when we speak and we stutter, use those moments to take a breath, meditate a bit. Like we're helping you create a more patient and calm life. See, when I started there, that was your opportunity to just go. And that's kind of how I want people to see people who stutter is we're just like what we have to say is important. You can wait for it, but like use us as a moment to just take a moment. Use us as a moment to take that moment, I think. And that way we can all build mutual respect for each other, because the way we speak isn't wrong. The way we speak just isn't the way you speak, and that's okay too. I think if we can just cultivate a lot more of that, then we would be a much happier society. So I think that's all I got to say.
Wow, Jacquelyn, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just doing what you do. And I know that what happens is it's a thankless job, but the reality is everything to everything, there is a season.
Yeah.
And I think that so many people don't realize that the fruits of your labor aren't going to always be tangible.
You over here dropping gems? Is that what's happening over here?
The fruits of your labor are not going to always be tangible, but when you realize what some of the fruits of your labor are, hashtag crescendo, hashtag that pilot, like that's for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And it makes that success so much sweeter because you know everything that you had to go through in order to like win.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Jacquelyn Joyce. Oh my gosh. It has been awesome. And guys, what you don't know is This is not the last time you're gonna see her. Definitely not. It might be the last time you see her on this platform, but yeah. You might see her somewhere else because, baby, she got so much to talk to y'all about. Y'all just don't understand what this dear queen has going on. And I'm so excited. Jacquelyn, let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Well, absolutely. You can find me on Jacquelyn Joyce on pretty much on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I also have a second page, which is like a journal diary of my mom and I, and that is called Mom of My Mom, because I'm my mom of my mom. And you can find that on TikTok and also on Instagram. It should pop right up.
Dope. Oh yeah, I definitely, and I don't use TikTok, but I got to get on TikTok because, honey, trust me, I already know if your mom anything like my mom's super lit, like super lit.
She has a whole like fan base. People are like, I'm gonna send her presents. She has a whole fan base on TikTok. It's crazy.
Facts. That's what it's like. For real, they be the celebrity on the low. People just deal with them. They be celebrities on the low. That's what it's all about. But Jacquelyn, thank you. And we will definitely talk soon.
Definitely. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Thank you, darling.
Definitely.
Guys, this was a special edition of, Primetime with SENOJ really hasn't been back, but I had to return for an intentional conversation with this wonderful young lady. But I hope you heard everything she said. I hope you understand that this was a real intentional conversation. It wasn't going to be an interview. It wasn't going to be a gossip column. It wasn't going to be for you to try to get on or whatever. This was really sincere and it was really necessary. And I'm just so excited that she chose her Saturday to rock out with me. And so once again, we just dropped Joy, Jules, and Justice. Y'all have a great Saturday, ladies and gentlemen.